Hello, everybody. Welcome to another edition of Thought Leaders Live, where we talk about with thought leaders in business, in life, and all points in between. So I'm going to welcome our good friend, Nicole Donnelly, founder and CEO of Moxie, platform, podcast, and community empowering women to lead with courage, authenticity, and confidence through mentorship and the Moxie Method. Oh, welcome to the show.
Oh my gosh. Hi, Greg. It's so exciting to be here. I've been looking forward to this conversation. This is going to be so fun.
Me too. And I have to ask before we go any further, I noticed you said wow after that amazing and very somewhat jarring opening. Any feedback on the music? Because my wife has heard the music. She's like, you got to get rid of that.
Oh, I said wow because I thought it was so professional and it just drew me right in. I loved it. I
All
thought
right.
it was very polished. That's why I was saying wow. I was like, this is great. I'm loving it.
Okay. Well, then we've got a yes vote from Nicole. That's a great way to start the show. So,
Yes.
Nicole, I know you. We've known each other for a while. You're an amazing marketer. I think we met, I don't know, 5 or 6 years ago or something like that. And I've watched your career just skyrocket and you do so many amazing things. But tell everyone else who doesn't know you a little bit about yourself and Hello Moxie.
Ooh, yes. So yes, I'm Nicole. I'm the founder of Hello Moxie. And let's see, what can I tell you about me? Hello Moxie is all about supporting women, empowering women in underrepresented industries. And I had the great pleasure of early in my career having my dream job working for a woman-owned company. And I remember when I went in for the job interview, I was 24, walked in, and sitting there around the table were these three stunningly beautiful women, and the executive team was entirely female. And I knew then that that was incredibly rare. And I walked out of that interview and I was like, oh my gosh, I want this job so bad. Like intuitively, I knew what a great opportunity it would be for me to have these women as mentors. I didn't say that or know that at the time, but looking back, I knew, that would be a great opportunity. And it was. I worked for these women for years and they changed my life. And then I eventually moved into the manufacturing space, which you and I have both worked in, and worked for a manufacturing company in-house, leading their marketing department. And it was an incredible experience. They had no marketing infrastructure, and I was really able to help them build out this very successful marketing department, and we had great results. And from there, I was like, I want to help other manufacturers. So I started marketing agency DMG Digital. Oh my gosh, almost 6 years ago. Can't believe it's been almost a month before COVID. And we grew really quickly. We grew 4 times in 4 years. And we eventually ended up niching into the B2B e-commerce space. It's just how it happens. Both very male dominated spaces. So B2B e-commerce, very male dominated. Manufacturing, very male dominated. And it was a challenge being a woman in those spaces. There was constantly kind of this pressure to feeling like I needed to prove and persuade kind of to be taken seriously. And I felt kind of the lack of female leadership coming from my previous, earlier in my career. And so after several years, I kind of hit burnout. And I didn't kind of hit burnout. I hit burnout. It was bad.
Yeah.
And I realized I was just not happy. I was spending so much time just trying to prove and get my clients to try to do things the way that I knew that it would be successful for them. And it was literally like climbing walls every day, Greg. It was really a challenge. And I was like, you know what? I want to help other women like me who have felt this same isolation and struggle. And I started Hello Moxie as a podcast, really was a passion project. And started having conversations with amazing women. The podcast actually launched a year ago and had so many great, amazing conversations with women who were very accomplished, but who were still struggling with self-doubt, with imposter syndrome, with all of these things. And so I started getting the itch to do more. I was like, man, there's really something here. These women are amazing, but they were really craving more connection. So we launched our very first mentorship program this last July as really a beta. So we wanted to just test it out and see, is this something people would be interested in? Would they pay for it? And we learned that yes, they would. And it turned out to be a really great success. So that's kind of what we're doing now is we're building out the next phase of what that looks like. We have our first cohort launching in November, which is,
Hey,
oh my gosh, a little over a month. I can't believe it. And so yeah, it's just been very, very exciting. The transition and the pivot, moving from being a marketing manufacturing agency into this new space where we're doing leadership development and mentorship and all that fun stuff. So that was a really long answer.
no, that was good. Very in depth. That's what we're looking for here.
Yeah.
Explain to me a little bit about the mentorship aspect
Mm.
and why you felt that was so important with the program.
Yes. I think from my own lived experience, it was so clear to me that having a female mentor changed my life, changed my career, helped me accelerate my career. And the reality is that women who have a formal mentor are 5 times more likely to get promoted than those that don't.
Wow.
The challenge is that only 63% of people don't have a mentor, don't have a formal mentor. So the majority of people don't even have a mentor, but yet those that do see incredible results in terms of how they're able to grow in their career. And so to me, I thought there's just such an opportunity here to be able to give people that kind of rich experience. But I think even more than that, I think we're seeing there's such a craving people are having for connection and for community. And I think AI is definitely contributing to that for sure. But that's what we heard coming out of the cohort that we launched in July from the women who came. We did a focus group immediately following. And the feedback that we got was just they wanted more. They wanted more interaction with their mentors. They wanted to have access to multiple mentors.
Hmm.
And in addition to that, they wanted access to a peer group that could help hold them accountable, that could just be there to support them and be what we call their courage companions. And so I think this is something that is only going to increase as we see AI taking on more and more of, the things that we do every day, taking on more of the workload is just this craving we're all going to have for like connection and community and like human to human interaction. And so this is really designed to help fill that need for so many women like me and like others who have struggled to find where they belong. And especially when you're working in an industry where you are often the only one in the room.
Sure. So my wife is a parent coach,
Hmm.
and she was talking how a lot of the industry and there's a lot of applications out there are using AI to kind of fill that role of the coach or the mentor. Um,
Mm.
are you seeing that out there? It seems like there was almost like a visceral reaction from your cohort against that.
Oh, totally. Yeah. I mean, interestingly, I was looking at some statistics on that the number one use case for AI is therapy. Like people
Sure.
are going to it to get therapy. But I think what's missing there is the nuance of the human experience. Like when you connect with another human and they share their kind of lived experience, you're not going to get the same level of support and connection through an AI interface that hasn't lived it and breathed it and felt it in their bodies. There's something that's so unique about the fact that we have a body. Like AI, that is the one thing AI will never have is a body. And there's so much wisdom in our bodies.
Right.
And I think it's so important for us to create opportunities as much as possible where we can tap into that wisdom by, connecting one to one with other people, humans, but also connecting with ourselves and with our own bodies and somatically becoming aware of what our bodies are telling us. Because there's like millennia of wisdom that literally lives in our cells. And we have so much information that's just today that we are just consuming left and right everywhere we go. But the greatest source of knowledge is really what's in us. And
Hmm.
sometimes we can get so distracted by all the noise, frankly. And the fact that everybody's just trying to learn as much as they can and be as expert on as much as they can. But what if we just slow down and just really took the time to listen to what it is that our bodies are telling us? I found from my own experience, that's really what helped me find alignment with what my heart was really wanting me to do and got me to realize that I was burnt out, unhappy, and not fulfilled. It was through the somatic practices that I did that really helped me come to that awareness. And that's like really the foundation of self-trust and living a really purposeful life. So I kind of went down a different direction there with that. But I think that's the difference between AI
Yeah.
and what AI can bring for us. But like human to human interaction is like that, like literally physical experiencing that only we as humans have. And that's such a gift that you're not going to get from an AI bot when you ask them, you know, what should I do? My boss is, I don't know, uh, I can't connect with my boss or they're, whatever the case might be, like it
Right.
helps to actually talk to another woman who's experienced that same thing and hear from them their unique experience, um, and how they handled it.
Yeah, and humans can make these connections between your problems and things that they've had, that they've experienced. And I think one of the dangers with AI is these are learned language models, and they are picking up whatever has happened to somebody else. And the danger, though, especially in the therapeutic side, is if they can't, if they don't know the answer, they're going to feel it, they're going to take a guess.
Mm, yeah.
Whereas that can be risky stuff, and especially on the therapy side. Let me ask you something, though, Nicole, about the word mentor versus the word coach.
Mm.
And, even, and probably not therapist, it might be too far down the road, but distinguish to me the difference between a mentor and a coach and why you chose mentor.
Oh, such a great question. So the way I like to think of them is they're kind of kindred spirits to each other. A coach is really great for helping you learn a skill or develop something. Like you think about your basketball coach, right? They're there to help you learn these kind of short-term skills that help you with the job that you need to get done that, time period of your life. But a mentor is really bigger picture. A mentor is like someone who helps you think ahead, think forward, and kind of help guide you along the way. So when you may need both, right? Like you may need a mentor who can be that guide for you to help you see what it is that you want to create for your life long term, and help you set those kind of like guidelines along the way to help you get there. And you may need a coach to help you upskill or those kinds of other real practical tactical things to help you get there. But like the coach is kind of like the one you pull in to help you reach those kind of longer mentorship goals, I'd say. That's how I define it.
Okay. And do they typically have experience in whatever you're, embarking on?
The mentors.
Yes.
So this is the really cool thing about mentorship is there's so many different types of mentorship relationships, right? Like there's formal mentoring relationships, which can come in many forms, which is what we're cultivating at Hello Moxie, right? Is this kind of like traditional formal mentorship arrangement where you have someone with more experience who's really mentoring someone who's rising up. There's also peer mentorship, which is becoming really huge and actually can be very helpful, where you meet with a peer group who are on the same kind of level as you, and they can help you move forward in your career. There's also what used to be called reverse mentoring, which is now called complementary mentoring, which was actually coined by Jack Welch way back in the 80s, where people younger who are just starting out in their career would mentor their older peers.
Oh,
And that's
wow.
like, yeah, they call it complementary mentorship now, where they kind of teach them like what is, you know, sometimes having that younger perspective when it comes to technology and lived experience can help the older peers too. So those are like kind of like the three formal mentorship buckets that you think of. But then there's also like a lot of informal types of mentorship that you wouldn't necessarily call a mentoring relationship, right? There's also supervisory mentorship, right? Where your supervisor is your mentor, like in my case, where
Mhm.
early in my career, I had my supervisors who were my boss, but also my mentor in that way. So there's like a lot of different types of mentoring relationships that you can have, and they're all important and they serve an important function. So as you're thinking about like your own career and how you want to grow, we really need a lot of different kinds of mentors. There's also other kind, like my aunt is an incredible mentor personally, right? My grandma, my friends, like a lot of these people can serve these mentoring roles where they're really helping you long-term, big picture, kind of become the person that you want to be, and you look to them to help guide you and in those ways. But so that's what I would say is like there's not a one size fits all kind of like this is the type of mentor you should have. It's really like how can you enrich your life with all these different kinds of mentoring relationships and be really intentional about it, you know. I look back and I wish I was more intentional about it, you know, and I wish I would have thought when I was younger with, for example, the bosses that I had, like, how can I get more out of this relationship? You know, what can I learn more from this relationship and be very intentional about it? So, yeah, so that's what I'd say. And yeah, that's what I'd say about mentorship.
Okay. Just want to take a moment. We have and just show a comment here from Andrew, who is
Andrew!
sure a
Hey,
friend of yours, and thanks for joining us, Andrew.
nice to see you.
Let's pivot over to the framework that you talked about, because I'm really intrigued by this, and I think you were alluding to stillness, which is part of it earlier in the conversation. But take us through the framework behind Hello Moxie.
Yeah, absolutely. So this framework was built based on my own lived experience, but it's also rooted in neuroscience and very evidence-based. So I come from a very long line of successful entrepreneurs. My dad, my grandfather, my great grandfather, my great great grandfather, and I have a great 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 great, I don't know how many greats, grandmother, no joke, who in the 1860s she owned a bakery in Copenhagen, Denmark, and she used to cater events for the king of Denmark. So,
No.
not kidding, like, she was like this socialite. She had 7 children. She'd wake them up every morning at 4:30, feed them breakfast before she went to work. 1860s. Like,
Wow.
anyway, so there's this very, like, rich legacy of entrepreneurship in my family that I'm very proud of, but also because of that, I've always felt this kind of intense pressure to achieve. And so, and it's almost like I was trying to make it back to someone else's boat, if you will. Like, you know, instead of really understanding and knowing what it is that was really true for me, what is it that really lit me up?
Mhm.
And so after my father passed away, um, I kind of had like this awakening and I reached burnout. And it was just kind of like this moment in my life where I was like, what am I doing? Like, is this really what I want to be doing? And my body was literally screaming at me, no, this is not the path for you.
Mhm.
The only way I came to that realization, I had a really wonderful coach who really taught me how to start listening to my body.
Mm.
And I remember the first time she asked me this question, she said, Nicole, do you ever spend time with yourself? And I was so confused. It's like, what do you mean? Like, what do you mean spend time with yourself? She's like, do you ever just sit and be with yourself? And I was like, what would I do? Like, you know, I don't know. What do you do? And she's like, what if you just, listened, noticed? And so that was kind of like the opening to me of like this noticing. And the first time I did it, I was just so out of discomfort. I kept feeling like I was like waiting for myself to tell me something I needed to do. And I remember going back to my coach and I was like, I tried to do this and I was waiting, looking for answers and nothing came. And she's like, well, what if you just sat there and just noticed and you didn't look for answers and you just listened to what your body sensations were telling you? And so I started practicing that. I'd go and sit in my hammock every day and I would literally do nothing.
Mm.
I would just sit there and pay attention to, oh, I got a pit in my stomach, or I'm starting to feel some sensations in my, chest. I've got some tightness in my chest. What's that telling me? What's happening here? Is there something? And so it was like me starting to just become aware of what my body was actually telling me. And what I noticed is the more that I practiced that kind of awareness and stillness is the more when I wasn't being still, I would be able to recognize these signals. So if I was in a situation where I was like, my heart started to race or I started having a tightness in my chest, I would recognize it in those moments and be like, this is a signal to me. Something's not right. I need to pay attention to this. Whereas before, I would have just completely glossed it over and not even known or been aware. And so like it's that kind of awareness that helps you start to build self-trust to like know, like, for example, I was asked to be a keynote speaker exactly 2 years ago. Greg, I'd never given a keynote speech before. I was not a public speaker. And a colleague of mine reached out to me out of the blue and was like, will you give this keynote speech? And I thought he was joking. I got off the phone and I was like, is this for real? And the event was in 3 weeks. And I was like, you know what? I'll do it. I'll do this. I'm going to go for it. And I remember the day before the event, I went to the venue to go on stage for sound check. And I walked on the stage and no joke, my body got goosebumps. Like my heart was expansive, like all of those bodily signals that tell you like, this is the way, right? And that's what I'm talking about is like, how can you get yourself to a place so you can feel those things in the moment? And they're signals to you to tell you, they're like green flags that say, keep going this way, you know? And if you don't spend the time in stillness to really listen to those signals, you miss them. Like you totally miss them. And then you could end up getting distracted by all the other voices. And then when you find yourself in meetings, for example, where there's a discussion, an important discussion happening up and you're a woman and you feel your body telling you, I need to share something that matters here. You will know those signals, you will trust those signals, and you will speak from a place of groundedness and presence rather than not speaking or perhaps speaking out of a place of proving or pressure.
I like how you've kind of taken some of these markers that I think a lot of people talk about the fight or flight
Yeah.
response and think of things in terms of red flags. You're kind of turning on its head and talking in terms of green flags.
Yeah.
And I think that's something that we don't spend enough time on and really trying to get to that sense of fulfillment in our lives. Uh, and
Mm.
and so I really like how you've kind of taken that kind of optimistic green flag approach, and it's really cool. Tell us a little bit about strengths building, stepping into fear.
Yes. Okay. Yeah. So once you start to develop this self trust, that's the first stage of the framework. The next natural step, and this is what happened for me, is I had to take a step back. I actually started working less. So I literally took Fridays off and I would just, whatever I was curious about, I would explore. So I took improv classes. I invested in a public speaking class. I started taking a playwriting class. Like I was just like, what am I curious about? I'm going to follow the breadcrumbs. And it was more about like redirecting myself to what my body was telling me that I was craving. And so I started working less and focusing on that. And so that's the second stage. It's all about what are you curious about? What's lighting you up? What is your body telling you that it really loves to do?
Sure.
What if you spent more time doing that and leaned into those and developed those as strengths? And in the workplace, this makes a huge difference. Gallup has done so much research on this. I don't know if you've ever taken Strengths Finder, but organizations who lead with their strengths are like 2.4 times more profitable than those that don't. Employees are more engaged. So personally, this is important because it helps you also professionally to like find ways where you can lean into your strengths. And so that's the second stage. And as you start to lean into your strengths, those are like naturally, because they're strengths, they give you confidence. And so because you're more confident in these strengths that you are naturally going to step into more uncomfortable situations because you know and you're
Mm,
confident
yes.
in your abilities and strengths. So rather than stepping into fears like this place of pressure or I have to perform or I have to do, you're stepping into the discomfort and the fear coming from a place of I love this. I'm great at it. I'm confident that I can do a great job here. And so it's all about like how can we see fear as a signal, right? Like we are never going to get into a place where we're not afraid, where fear goes away. I think fear is a really important signal that our body is telling us. And we have to listen and decide, is this fear something that I want to step into that's going to be help me get to the next step? Or is it truly something that is not? And so that's the third phase, is like stepping into fear, starting to make those big risky choices that you want, that your body is telling you you want, and having those difficult conversations. And then the fourth stage of the framework is speak. This is all about using your voice, leading with vulnerability, having vulnerable conversations, not being afraid of conflict, but learning how to use your voice in a way where you can embrace being honest and direct and radically candid in a way that's very respectful, right? And then finding ways, platforms, in my case, like public speaking, where you can use your voice in a way that leverages your strengths so that you can be supporting and giving back and helping those coming behind you, which is the last stage, which is the shine stage, which is all about legacy and mentorship and how can you give back and lift other people as you lead along the way. So that is kind of like the 5-stage framework that we built our programming around at Hello Moxie. Our mentorship program that we're launching includes workshops where the women in the cohort will get to practice, learn, role play all of these 5 stages along the way while they're meeting separately with their mentors. So yeah, that's the
I,
very quick overview of the framework.
I love it. And I'm a little jealous from the male perspective that we don't have a, maybe I'll start up a Hello Mongo, program of my own and model it. But everything you talked about, I do think men would benefit from as well. I wanted the last item that was that shine,
Yeah.
the
Shine.
last step. Can you tell me a little bit about that? And maybe does, in some ways, I mean, this program is about thought leadership and thought leaders. Does that tie in with sharing your thought leadership at all, whether it's on a digital platform or in speaking engagements? Could you maybe elaborate a little bit on that?
Absolutely. I mean, if you think about the natural progression of this framework, and it's all organic, right? Like that's the beauty of this. There's nothing about it that's forced. It's like as you develop self-trust, you naturally start leaning into your strengths and getting curious and exploring, which then naturally leads you to want to step up and do uncomfortable things. Then you naturally start speaking up more. And then because of that, you find so much purpose and joy that you naturally want to give that back, right? Like you naturally want to find opportunities to share your thought leadership on whatever platforms that make sense, whether it's podcasting or public speaking or writing or doing art or mentoring other people or teaching or whatever the case may be. It's like this natural step where you've kind of reached this point where you start to share your wisdom and your experience and your knowledge in the ways that really truly align with your strengths. And I truly believe that like thought leadership isn't something that's just for people who are farther along in their careers. Thought leadership is anybody, no matter where you're at in your life, you have lived experience that matters and that can help someone else, whether you're 15 or 25 or 80. And I truly believe like thought leadership isn't meant just to be for like, I think traditionally you think a lot thought leadership, well, you have to reach this certain level of life to be a thought leader. Well, I disagree. I think anyone can be a thought leader. There's always somebody that can benefit from whatever your wisdom or experience is. And then as you go through this framework, it naturally just starts to come out. Like I've experienced it myself. Like I'm like literally living it. So I know that it's possible for everyone else who attempts to move through this framework too.
Well, it's so fantastic, and I'm just so proud of you, Nicole, for
No.
going after this. And you can tell it's your strength, and you can also see it's your passion. And I just know you've got a big heart, and you're helping a lot of people. So it's just really cool to see. If
Right.
somebody wants to learn more about Hello Moxie and wants to follow you and learn more about you, how do they go about it?
Oh yes, best place is LinkedIn. As I love LinkedIn. So you can find me at LinkedIn. You just search for Nicole Donnelly, Hello Moxie, and you can find me there. Connect with me. I'd love to connect with you and get to know you. So that would be the first. And then you can find us on our website, hellomoxie.biz. And if you go there, you can learn, we have a podcast. You can see our episodes that we publish every 2 weeks. And you can learn more about our cohort that we're launching in November. So yeah, that's how you can reach me.
Very exciting. Thank you again, Nicole, for joining us. And we'll see you all. Actually, we're going to have an special episode tomorrow with Christina Harrington, who is the Hello Moxie mentor. So very excited about that.
Oh, I'm excited too. I'm going to have to tune in. I can't wait to hear. She's an amazing mentor for our program.
Okay. So thanks everyone for joining us. And thank you again, Nicole.
Thank you.